Welcome to the 5-Star Retirement Show with Patrick Mueller, best-selling co-author of Dare to Succeed and president of Bella Advisors. Today, he'll be sharing his 5-star retirement formula, including lifetime income planning, investment planning, tax planning, healthcare planning, and legacy planning. Here's Chris Monroe and Patrick Mueller.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of 5-Star Retirement, where we don't want your retirement to end up like the exploding turkey. We'll talk about that in a moment. And we also want to help you to be protected from the silver tsunami that's coming. Another article that we'll talk about in the first segment. Of course, ways that you can maximize your retirement, whether you're 10 years out, 5 years out, you're a year in, or somewhere in between. This is the man from Bella Advisors, Mr. Patrick Mueller, that knows all things to help you live the 5-star retirement.
He's all.
He does, right? Well, I mean, I at least set you up well every time.
You do.
And you got to live up to my expectations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you make me sound super amazing every single week.
Now our producers are oh, wow. Now, did it look this bad? We just got a video here of the deep fried turkey. Now, here's what happens when you put oil, and people can't see this on the video or on the radio, but when you drop water into oil, it doesn't fare well. You want to not be around it. So I understand, Patrick, there was a story where, and this happened recently over Thanksgiving, we had a little turkey mishap, and this is an example of how we don't want your retirement to be.
That's right. Number one, I had my first deep fried turkey over Thanksgiving, and it was delicious.
Okay,
so
well, that's a good thing.
So now I'm going to buy myself the whole apparatus to be able to deep fry my own turkey, and you can do low country boiled in the thing too. I found out. So double duty. So get that out of the way, but it will not be my only deep fried turkey. But I got into this conversation in the office. So I had this client come in, and I was talking with them, and we were talking about Thanksgiving and deep fried turkeys, and he said, "Well, I've got this neighbor that I had, and he used to deep fry everybody's turkeys. So he would have in the middle of his driveway, he would have, his pot and everything out there, and people would bring their turkeys over, and he would deep fry their turkeys. Where one person that brought their turkey did not thaw it out completely. So there was a block of ice still in the middle of the turkey. So they put it in there, and everything was okay for a little bit, but then the turkey exploded, and all of the oil went all over this guy. And he had third-degree burns.
No way.
All over his body.
Well, our producers over here.
And just so you know, he's not deep frying anybody's turkeys anymore.
Looking up YouTube videos of why you should never deep fry a frozen turkey. Ice and oil don't really go together real well like that. Hot oil. So yeah. So this is the way we don't want your retirement plan to end up like that.
Yeah, that's right. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And we want to make sure that you don't have an ice block in the middle of your turkey before you put it in the deep fryer.
Here's an idea. How about deep fry a fresh turkey that's not frozen to prevent that? Anyway, so yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and that's where you come in.
So that could be the recommendation. You come in and be like, you need a fresh turkey.
I like that. And if you say that, by the way, did you give free turkeys away over Thanksgiving?
No. Nobody called in for the free turkey.
So you still have free turkeys?
That's right.
Okay.
So we could do the same thing if we want to, or we could just give away like an Amazon gift card or something. That's pretty good.
Oh, now
and like for in remembrance of Black Friday or getting into the holidays, we could get into the spirit and we could do like a $20 gift card.
Okay.
For like the first 5 callers.
How about that? So I mean, $20 gift card, lunch in Roswell maybe, and a free turkey. 770-545-8881, BellaAdvisors.com. So, again, thank you for joining us, and always good to be with you, Patrick. We want to prevent that. And the other thing is an interesting article I was looking at on Market Watch about the continuance of the silver tsunami.
Oh, what is this? What is the silver tsunami?
It's something else we have to watch out for. Well, we've talked about it, and that's the number of baby boomers that are going into retirement every day. However, but here's the bigger thing too. What that's going to mean to the housing market between now, 2029, and 2039 over the next 10 to 20 years is that 1 million houses a year and growing are going on the market that were owned by boomers that either have passed away or they've said, the heck with this 5,000 square foot, acre lot I got to take care of.
That's right.
I want to downsize.
It's going to give me a townhome.
I'm going to give me a townhome.
I'm going to give me a ranch home so I don't have to worry about going up and down stairs.
Exactly. So what that could possibly mean to the housing market over the next, and we're just at historic highs and, with the low interest rates and the mortgage rates that have stayed, down near, 4% basically for years now. But that supply may outweigh the demand eventually because a lot of the younger generation are not buying homes right now, and what that might mean for somebody that's holding real estate right now as an investment.
Yeah, there's so much debt. You got all the student loan debt and, thinking about paying that off before they can, purchase a house. So lots of stuff like that going on. But you had your first baby boomers. The silver tsunami started back in 2012.
The silver tsunami.
And you got 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single month. So, or is it a day?
I think it might be a day.
I want to say it's a day. You're right. It's a day. 10,000.
So you're putting 1 million houses on the market a year. It was 700,000 just 5 years ago. So now it's going to go to 900 this year, and then they say by 2022 it's going to go to 1 million a year, then 1.2 million, then 1.5 million. So we could be getting close to $2 million. Oh, they're pulling up the silver tsunami. There's already good. We need to work these graphics in, guys, somewhere. I
love that one up there.
Yeah, we gotta work these in somewhere. So you've got this huge generation known as the baby boomers that have these assets. And let's say that somebody is in their retirement. They're thinking that their home, which very well may be their biggest asset, but that's another thing that could lose value very, very quickly in an overheated market, in an overcrowded market, what we saw in 2008.
Well, you're definitely seeing that now. I mean, you're seeing it now where you're not seeing a whole lot of growth on the markets, and you're seeing You are seeing a lot of downsizing. I have talks with clients about it all the time now about downsizing out of their house that they're in now, and you not only got that could be changing in the real estate market, but these same people are taking their money out of the stock market. So you got this huge demographic, the baby boomers, who have been such a catalyst in spending and in so many different industries. And so you have people now that are pulling their money out of the markets. And the market's very simple, is money coming in, money going out. And you've got this huge segment of the population that's been really good at investing in the markets, and now they're starting to pull their money out of the markets because they're all retiring. And at age 70 and a half, the government starts forcing you to start pulling it out, and they start making you take those required minimum distributions. And that money is just not going to come back because you don't have the younger generations that are saving money like the boomer generation did. So
all of this could mean different things, maybe negative for people that are, say, 10 years out for retirement. You know, if you've got a major drag on the housing market, you've got, a volatile stock market that, I mean, it looks great right now, and it is. I mean, we're at historic highs, but what goes up must come down. And so let's say the person that's 10 years out right now has a home, they've still got a mortgage on it, they've still got some debt, but they've got some pretty good savings. I mean, now is a time to get in and see you, I would imagine. Yes?
100%. Yeah. When you're about 10 years out from retirement, it's probably about the magical time, but especially the closer you're getting to retirement, there's never a bad time. But once you're, say 10 years out from retiring, it's probably a great time to be talking with us. And you can always call us with questions and things like that and help guide you in the right direction. But once you start getting in the home stretch of retirement, what we start calling the retirement red zone. So once you're within about 5 years from retiring, things start becoming critical within 5 years from retiring or 5 years into your retirement. Because if something happens to your nest egg and it causes a problem with your plan, that's not when you want it happening. And a lot of times, especially right now with the market being so high, people are taking so much risk right now with their money. They've got all their money in the stock market. And that's going to be great until it isn't. Warren Buffett has this great saying that you see who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. And that's what you see right now is people are frolicking in the water and happy-go-lucky, and it's only a matter of time before that tide goes out, and you see who's going to be swimming naked. And nobody wants to be seeing you swimming naked when you're, 60, 65 years old.
Well, and it's one thing, and it's so easy when you log onto your 401k account or you get a prospectus and you see that big number, 33%, growth, 41% growth, and that's year over year. That might just be 1 year of growth, and people aren't looking at the downside. Don't get into that investment at the top of the market. That's not a good place to be. Not to say that it won't continue to grow, but it's more likely that it's going to come back the other way.
And the big difference is you can go through a 2008 market condition when you still got a paycheck coming in. When you got that paycheck coming in and your 401k went down to a 201k, it didn't feel good, but you still had that paycheck coming in and you could ride through that.
Or if you were 20 or 30 years away from retirement, you had plenty of time to recover from that. When you start talking about getting into that retirement red zone, you don't have more. You can't start being risky with your play calling.
That's right.
Down there in the red zone, you know.
That's right. You think you're a financial genius until that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
And then everybody gets caught with their pants down, and then you don't want that happening to you don't want to be risking your whole retirement over something like that, over speculation of what you think is going to be the long-term trend in the stock market, or get caught up into this terrible financial advice that's out there, like the markets will always recover and it's only a paper loss.
But we don't know that.
And these terrible things.
You know, and there may be, and I think we get so lulled, Patrick, into believing that another 1929 can't happen. We're just, we look at that and we look at the old grainy black and white video of the time and the pictures and that kind of thing, and we think that's how the world looked at that time because that's what we, you know, but things can happen again. We're not infallible, you know, and it's.
And if you think about 2008, nobody went to jail over that. None of the problems were solved. They've gotten dramatically worse. I'm not a doom and gloom guy, but you just got to pay attention to the stuff
but it's a realism
that's happening. And then you had quantitative easing, right, where you had our federal banks artificially stimulating our economy, which is why we've seen this kind of growth. And they just started it again. They added $1.4 million, or $1.4 trillion to the balance sheet last month, and nobody's talking about it. So they started doing it again. But they don't want to freak everybody out because they're doing everything they can to try to stop the country from going into a recession and keeping the Band-Aids on everything. But it's just they're just kicking the can down the road. And it's just going to be bad when it happens. And you just got to protect yourself.
Well, and, you know, again, not doom and gloom, but now's the time to call Patrick before that happens. 770-545-8881, 770-545-8881. Stay with us. We'll talk about catch-up contributions in the next segment here on 5 Star Retirement. Thank you for staying with us. It's another segment of 5 Star Retirement brought to you by Bella Advisors. Chris Monroe, Patrick Mueller here talking about ways that we can help you live a 5-star retirement. We'll go over those stars again once we get later in the program, so stay with us. One thing that we haven't touched on, and I was thinking about this, Patrick, is make-up contributions or catch-up contributions or catch-up contributions. Depending on
catch-up.
Right.
Contributions.
And that was
depending on what part of the country.
Exactly. So this was something that wasn't always around, but I think was passed a number of years ago that allows people to, let's say they're in they're in that magical 10-year window. They can actually put more money into an IRA or a 401k, I guess, than normal to catch up.
Yeah, you can put an extra $1,500 into your Roth IRA or your IRA account, and then your 401k, the max is $18,000, and then you can put up to $24,500. Once you're over that milestone, then you can do that catch-up provision. So
at what age can you do that? Starting at is there an age minimum?
I want to say it's age 50.
That sounds.
I want to say it's at age 50 that you can start making.
Well, they'll change it next year too, so it'll be 51.25. You know, that's the government. They'll do that.
Yeah, so, right now I believe it's age 50 where you can make those additional contributions if you want to each year.
So we've talked about this in another segment. You know, your family made a lot of good money, then made some bad decisions, and my dad did the same thing, and had a grandmother go into a nursing home with Alzheimer's for 8 years, and that opened up and cracked a nest egg and pretty much blew through hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wow. So what happens? You've got a client, let's say, that's 55 years old right now, and they want to retire at 65, but they've either made some bad decisions, they've had some misfortune, something has happened. What do you do in that instance? Because the one thing that they don't have now is time.
Yeah.
You know, to start like they were 25, you know, and that's got to be a difficult conversation. But what do you do in that case?
Number one, the first thing you got to do is you got to forgive yourself.
Okay.
That's the first thing you got to do, because otherwise you people get into these patterns where they keep beating themselves up over their bad mistakes over and over and over again. And, if you're the one who made the bad mistake, your wife maybe is the one who's reminding you consistently of how bad of a mistakes that you made and not to make those bad mistakes again. But you got to give that stuff up, and you got to quit beating yourself up because there's nothing you can do about it. So the only thing we can do is figure out where we're at now. And that's what we do every day is we try to help you figure out, where are you at? What's currently going on? How much money is coming in the door? What's your lifestyle looking like right now? And not only what does it look like right now, but what do you want it to look like when you're retiring? And that's different for everybody on what they want that to look like. But we got to understand what that picture is and what you want things to look like and what the goal is that we're really striving for and what the purpose for that money is. And sometimes people figure out that they love what they're doing, and why would they ever want to retire? And that's kind of their plan, and that's okay. But we got to figure out what that is for you. And we've got to understand where you're at, the current path that you're on, and then we put a plan together to make that happen. And it's not rocket science, what we're doing here. It's just we've been through this hundreds of times, and this is all we do every single day is help folks with their retirement plans, so we can tune in very easily and put these plans together to get you where it is that you want to go to. But you got to take that action. It's just like anything good in life. Nothing good in life happens until we actually decide to take action on it.
Well, and I think some people, and that's a great point. I think a lot of people might think, well, I don't want the maid to see my house unless it's clean, which doesn't make any sense, although we're all kind of like that.
So it's so funny. I do that. I'm like, I really don't want to.
I got to clean before. I don't want to know.
I don't want to see it this dirty.
But and I think that it's very much the same way with financial advice. Is that people don't. They're almost ashamed that, well, I've made this mistake and I don't have as much money put away as I should. But that's not about you judging them. You want to put them, and that's where your heart is. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably, if I'm not mistaken, probably spurred on by watching your parents struggle.
For sure. Well, a lot of this happened, things kind of happen to you at an early age that it affects you, and maybe you even realize that it affected you so much until later on in your life. But my grandfather, when I was about 8 years old, he had a heart attack. And when he was recovering from his heart attack, he had a stroke. And it put him into a nursing home. So he was in a nursing home for a while. I had an aunt that was in a nursing home at the same time. And so when you're kind of visiting somebody that you grew up with, and then they're just not the person you recognize anymore. They can't talk to you.
Yep.
They don't know who you are. It's really sad. And they owned a farm in Ohio, and they ended up having to sell the farm off. And my grandmother, she really didn't live much longer after my grandfather passed away. But then there ended up being a huge estate battle between siblings, just squabbling over the estate. And it just, the things that happened from that, the siblings still haven't talked to each other in over 30 years.
Wow.
And then seeing, different mistakes that my parents made over time. When I started getting into this industry in kind of a backwards kind of way, and I started educating myself in these different areas. You just start figuring out how much bad information is out there, how much misinformation is out there, how many myths that are out there, and they're all propagated by the people who profit from it. And nobody's out there really trying to help folks. And so when I got into this industry and I created this company, that was what it was all about. Is we're going to do real planning for folks, and we're going to be solving real problems. We're not just going to try to figure out how to sell something. We're going to try to figure out how to help people and make sure that they don't make these same mistakes. So it's so I would say, if there was any kind of secret to my success, is that people could see my sincerity, that I actually, cared.
I think you hit on something that's so important. We're in a time where we have access to more information at our fingertips than ever, but it's not necessarily good information.
That's right.
And there is good information. I'm not saying the internet's bad, but there's a lot of lies out there. You got to sift through a lot of garbage today. What our media has become in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And what people are. You've told a story before about somebody that was paying $30,000 a year in annuity fees, and they had no idea that was buried in the fine print. There's a lot of people out there that are out to scam people. And I watch a YouTube channel, which the guy calls and scam baits these guys over in India, and it's hilarious. And has this voice changing technology, and he suddenly becomes an old lady. Everybody, not everybody, but there are a lot of people that are out there trying to take your money,
mm-hmm.
and you're not doing that. I mean, you want to make a living, and of course, but the fact that I've gotten to know Patrick. the fact that you have that heart to help people is something that is rare today, and I think it's something that you should really look at. And I love the small, kind of personalized, feel that you bring to this. You're located in Roswell, so you're convenient to pretty much everybody in Metro Atlanta for sure. I'm sure you do some things over the phone or via.
Yeah, we do a lot of Zoom meetings,
and that kind of thing,
screen shares,
sure,
and things like that.
But at the end of the day, a robo-advisor is not going to be able to answer all of these questions that you have about your retirement.
Yeah, and to get things to the heart of the matter, because at the end of the day, what's it all about? What's it all for? What's the real purpose for the money? What are you really trying to accomplish? And a lot of times people haven't thought about this stuff in years. And you've got couples that have been together for years, and they're trying to figure out how to relate to each other now that they're retired, and what do they really want to be doing, because they've been used to working and taking care of kids and all those different things. And
it might come up to be where they both want very different things.
And that can be,
they didn't even know that.
And that can be the case, right? So we have the 5-star marriage counseling session that we have as well.
Well, you should. And that doesn't cost any extra money, or does it? That's right. No, probably should.
I mean, it probably should.
Depending on how deep the marital problems are.
But I definitely feel like that from time to time. That's for sure. But that's fine. It's all part of the whole process.
Sure.
It's part of the whole process. But yeah, it's just about having, a real plan. And, what do you really want to accomplish? And it's not real difficult stuff. I mean, it can be complicated, but we try to keep it super simple. Anybody that's really good can take the complex stuff and make it super simple and get it geared down to what it is that you really need. And not just trying to sell you a particular product or a rate of return or all that stuff, because all that stuff has its purpose, but what are you really trying to solve for? And that's what we try to do, is get to what do you really want? What's the real purpose for the money? We got to get clear on that.
I think that's really important. And we'll talk about that in the next segment about, people reinventing themselves and the newer generation, the younger generation, millennials and Gen Z. It's been said that a lot of times people will change careers, not jobs, but change careers multiple times in their working life. And that wasn't the case with boomers and, the generation that's getting ready to retire now.
Yeah, you see a lot of these people have, been working for the same company for years and years and years, for 25, 30 plus years.
And what happens if that company suddenly decides that it's time for you to retire, even though you may not want to retire? You may not have a choice, and you might run into some people that are in that case that, let's say they're 65 or 70, they're still working. Suddenly they're not, and they haven't seen somebody like you and have that plan into place. So.
Yeah, or something comes up where they made them an offer they couldn't refuse, and so they come in and saying, "Hey, I just got this offer. Is this something I should be taking? Can we really make this work?" And
be like, yes.
Yeah, we got to answer the big questions.
Right.
How much money do you need to retire? What does your paycheck need to be when you retire?
Yeah, and what do you want to do? And what do you want to do?
Is it going to last?
Yeah, and I love the fact that you talk a lot about what do you want to do, and we'll talk about that in the next segment as well. So now is the time. I know we're getting close to the holidays. We're getting close to Christmas. You might have some time off from that job that you go to, and you sit in Atlanta traffic every day to get to. But why not give Patrick a call? 770-545-8881. 770-545-8881. Check him out on the web at bellaadvisors.com. Go ahead and do that right now. Get on the schedule before things fill up. A free stress test and analysis on your money to make sure that you are hitting all 5 stars and that you're going to live the kind of life that God put you on this earth to in the last chapter of your life. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll talk about that, reinventing yourself in retirement, and a lot more coming up next on the next segment of 5-Star Retirement. Spoiling the grandkids, spending all day on the golf course, maybe traveling to Tahiti, or maybe completely reinventing yourself into a brand new career, starting the business that you always wanted. No matter what your passion is or what your goal is, the idea is getting there with the kind of money that you need to sustain and support that. We're back with Patrick Mueller of Bella Advisors here at 5-Star Retirement. And I love that we talk a lot, and you talk a lot with your clients about on an individual basis, what is it that you're working for, and what does your perfect day look like? It's one of those great exercises. But there's a lot of different things that people want to do in retirement. For some, it's a life of leisure. Some people want to travel. I've traveled a lot around the world. I'm not sure that I'd want to be sitting on 20-hour flights anymore when I'm like 65 or 70, unless I can do it first class. But for a lot of people, it has become today not going home and sitting down. It's really exploring what their passion is, maybe starting a business, whether it's a small business, and really diving into what it is that they've wanted to do maybe their whole life and haven't had the chance to do it.
For sure. Yeah. It could be getting into, charitable things. Sometimes it's just spending more time with family and staying with the grandkids. And then you've got, communities built all around the lifestyles too. You've got the villages down in Florida where, you pretty much just have about every activity that you could want to be doing at any given time. I've got one client that just moved from here, him and his wife, last year. They moved down to Florida, and I asked him how it was going, and he's like, it's like living the dream down here. He's so happy. He was like, anything that you want to be doing. He's like, tennis, pickleball, table tennis, any activity, golf, whether, he started naming off all these different things and all these different concerts and all this different stuff. He's like, anything that you want to be doing, it's just right there at your fingertips to just be doing it. I mean, it's almost kind of sound like an infomercial for, moving to one of these villages down in Florida. But
it's funny that, and we haven't really talked about this, but there's a smart, and God bless capitalism, there's a number of smart people that have really begun to capitalize on the silver tsunami, as it were, of people moving into retirement. And not only luxury resorts, but just senior themed living here in Atlanta. I mean, there's everywhere you go, there's a new 55 plus. My dad lives in one right now, and it's 55 plus. And there's planned activities and all of this stuff. It's not assisted living in any way.
Yeah, now you got Jimmy Buffett that's building those Margaritaville communities.
And why not? I mean, what a great model. For people that don't want, they've cut their last blade of grass and raked their last leaf, and for a lot of people for a long time had these big, I know my grandparents had an acre lot to take care of. I know because I was out there cutting that thing and raking leaves for a long time, but a lot of people don't want that anymore. So that's a great thing. What are you finding that a lot of your clients and your cross section of people do? And what seems to be one of the hot things that people want to do after they get to that milestone?
The number one on the list is usually travel.
I would see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of times people have been putting things off for a number of years, and that's something that if you have been putting that off, we don't want you to delay that. Let's figure out a way to make that happen now, because life can change in an instant. So you don't want to be putting off your whole life and then something changes, your health changes, and then you don't have the ability to do that stuff anymore. Somebody passes away, and you definitely don't have the ability to do that stuff anymore. So not only enjoying your life now, but then, what do you want things to be looking like? So one of those things really is, people want to be traveling. I just sat down with this couple and they just bought this big RV. And so they, the husband's teaching the wife how to drive this big RV. So if something happens to him or he hurts himself or he's too fatigued maybe to be driving, that she learned how to drive this thing. So that's what they do, is they just cruise around the country to different places, and they've got their big RV, and that's just what they do.
I think that would be fun for a little while.
Couple weeks, maybe.
Couple weeks. then I'd want to be back off the road. But that's the great thing, and we live in such a great country, and there's so many things that you can do. The joy of starting a business in retirement can be, because you've got the established finances. You're not really using this money. It's not about the income or paying yourself. It's really about following your passion. You've got an opportunity to work on what you want to work on instead of what the boss says you have to work on, the spreadsheet that's due by, 2 p.m. or else. And you've got all this history and work history and knowledge, and a lot of people are paying for that knowledge today. Because it's invaluable. I mean, you've got a lot of people that have 40, 50 years invested in a certain industry. A lot of people are paying that as consultants and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I love your advice of, travel while you can, because you don't know what your health is going to be. And traveling is hard. And traveling is not, physically easy, being on a plane and walking. But there's a lot of things that you can do in retirement, even if your physical health deteriorates, you can still do.
Like what?
So,
what would that
well,
be?
run a business. I mean, you can, even if your physical health deteriorates. He's smiling. I don't know why.
I always smile. That's the thing, though.
It's kind of a sinister smile, like, What are you talking about, Willis?
I'm trying to know where you're getting.
No, I don't. Listen, sometimes I lead us down a path. I'm not even quite sure where I'm going down with that rabbit hole. But, I think it really is an important thing to figure out, because for me, I'm already kind of transitioning into a business that, that I've wanted to do for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I'm 47. I'm hopefully a little ways from retirement.
Yeah, and feel free to tell people about it if you want to as well.
Well, yeah. Well, I started a company. It's actually a nonprofit called the Gift of Music Foundation, and we help beginning musicians acquire that first instrument and have access to music classes. It was a need that I saw. I'm a lifelong musician. I know that you are too, and I kind of see this as what I'm going to do in retirement. I just happen to be starting at 20 years early to get it off the ground, but I've already got that plan into place of what I want to do after a full-time radio career for 30 years.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah. It's some of it's divinely inspired, and some of it is seeing a lot of handwriting on the wall, and reinventing yourself, doing other passions and that kind of thing. And sometimes we get burned out on things that we do for a long time.
Oh, definitely. That is definitely the case. And if as far as people never retiring, you kind of see this all the time with all these different artists, all these different musicians. Think of the Rolling Stones. Think of Paul McCartney. He's still out there touring. And
are any of those guys really still alive, or is it kind of like a Weekend at Bernie's situation?
Or it's one of those holograms? Did you see that with Ronnie James Dio, where they just had the hologram out there on the stage, and they did a tour with his live band, but just his hologram of himself on stage?
Some of these guys are amazing in their late 70s or their mid 70s. Like, wow.
I mean, I saw Paul McCartney a couple of years ago. He was great. I mean, he's like 77 now, so he would have been like 75, and he was killing it.
That's amazing.
Down in Piedmont Park, when he played down in Piedmont Park. But it was super good. But then you just have all these, these bands that just keep touring and touring and touring every single year, and I don't think they're ever going to stop touring.
And maybe in your retirement, you want to start a garage band. Maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you want to go play at some bars and that kind of thing.
Well, and that's my goal. I mean, that's my goal. I mean, I play now. I mean, I play now, and I write and record and things like that, and play out every now and then. But that's really my goal, is to get to a point where I can just play music and
for the pure joy
of I'm doing, and not have to worry about money, and don't have to worry about where the paycheck's coming in and all that. And that's really what it's about, is to be spending your time. It's all about your time, because we can't get that back. And what do you want to be doing with your time? And it's not about, again, sweat and ticker symbols and interest rates.
Nope.
The market's up 500 points today. The market's down 500 points today. I mean, that stuff is, honestly,
unless that's your passion.
That stuff is super boring. But some people love it. Some people love that stuff, and it keeps their mind active. And that's okay. If that's what you love spending your time doing, then by all means follow your passion.
And that's one of the great things that I love about 5-Star Retirement Bella Advisors, is helping people find the passion. I bet you've had people that come in and they're like, well, I got this retirement plan, and you bring up the question, well, what do you plan to do after? And crickets. That's hard for me to believe. I'm such a planner, but
that's probably the most common thing.
Really?
When I start asking people the real tough questions, which is, what's the purpose for the money? Because people will give me some kind of generic answer back. Well, Patrick, I just want my money to grow. Well, why?
Why?
Right. Why do you want it to grow? Because it's just a tool, and you can't take it with you. And some people have this. I just had this guy that came in. He was a super nice guy. His daughter, or the daughter, brought the father in because he made a ton of money. He was super good with investing. He told me he took $2,000 and he turned it into over $2 million. And then he worked for IBM for a long time. And then
wow.
And then he turned it into tens of millions of dollars. And so this guy was super successful, but that was his passion, just to grow the money and invest.
And for some people, it is. It's the making of the money.
And that was his thing. Well, guess what? It's not his daughter's thing, and he's been her advisor, and so now he was looking for that successor, and trying to find the right success. And so when he started wanting to get into all this stuff, I'm like, I don't want to talk about any of this stuff at all, because what's important, So he's leaving a ton of money to his kids and grandkids and things like that, which is great. But what was important to her was something that was completely different.
Right. And we could probably do a whole segment just on that alone, is that the thought that, well, what's important to me is obviously going to be important to all of my kids, which couldn't be farther from the truth, as we well know. And that's all part of that legacy planning, the fifth star. And we'll hit those stars again coming up in the next segment. Meanwhile, you got some time off. You've got a lot of things to think about, and I hope that each week we're really starting to pique your interest and get you to think about your most important asset in your life, and that's your finances. I mean, it provides you the ability to do what it is you want to do. So give Patrick a call, 770-545-8881, 770-545-8881, BellaAdvisors.com. I promise he is a super nice guy. He will not bite you. So when you come in and get your free stress test and analysis, it's going to be a pleasurable experience. We're going to take a few of your questions and wrap things up in the final segment of 5-Star Retirement. Stay with us. If I go into a restaurant and it says 37 on the health score, I probably don't want to eat there. If I research something on Amazon and it has 1 star, I probably won't buy it. But if it has 5 stars, there's a much better chance that I will buy it, and that's why we want a 5-star retirement. So I'm going to see if I can remember all these too, because I'm going to right.
Yeah, you won't be going to the restaurants that's got the 100% health score. 100%
health score and 5-star dining, and that's what we want in our again, we still got to come up. I don't like the word retirement. We've got to come up with something better. That's 5-star living, 5-star, I don't know. We'll come up with something. We keep saying this. All right, so income replacement is number 1, and because you're going to be unemployed for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Yep.
Investments is number 2. We want to make sure that you're in the right investments for where you're at. Should be take 100 minus your age, and that's what you should be invested in stocks. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Number 3 is taxes, because Uncle Sam does not stop taxing you and have mercy on you just because you have retired. In fact, a lot of times they will tax you even more, including the massive 50% tax, the biggest of all taxes, right?
If you don't take your RMD.
Your required minimum distribution, 50%.
50%, and then you still have to pay your regular tax.
Unbelievable. So that's a big part. That's star number 3. Number 4 is health and health care, whether that's just, dealing with Medicare Part A, B, C, Q, G, all the different things, not to mention long-term health care, which a lot of people, will need. Many people will need at some
home
point.
health care, assisted living, nursing home care.
Which is not cheap, the last time I checked. And then number 5, the 5th star of that is legacy planning. Do you want to leave your estate to a cat named Fluffy? Do you want to leave it to your, to your grandchildren? Do you want to send it to an endowment to the Gift of Music Foundation at giftofmusic.org? Whatever you want to do with your retirement money, in making your plans known. And I would imagine too that probably involves some will planning and that kind of thing. How many people out there don't even have? Not only do they not have a plan for what they want to do with their money, there's no record of it. So guess who gets to decide when you die?
Think about these big estates. Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, these huge estates. They had nothing.
Are you kidding me? There was no will?
No will.
So you have a gajillion dollars.
Prince.
And you can go online to any of those will-making places or online law today. And for $99, you can create a will. And you got, $9 gajillion dollars in the bank and you have no will.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's just one of those things. People just put it off. People think that, well, if I make a will, that means I'm going to die.
Here's a news flash. We're all going to die, at some point. So
they think it's going to happen sooner. They think now that I put it into place, they just manifested their, it's going to happen quicker.
That is actually very funny, but I can see, with as psychologically weird as we are as a society, especially today, that people would actually think that. I can't do a will because I'm going to die.
And this is something that we help set up for people. We're not estate planning attorneys,
right?
And I have yet to find an estate planning attorney. But if you're a really good estate planning attorney, feel free to give us a call, because we'd like to work with you. But what I have found is a company that actually creates the estate or the planning documents for estate planning practices, and I pay them a fee each year. And so to get the will done, the power of attorneys, the living will, it's $125. It's not anything we make a penny off of. I spend money to give our clients this service each year. And then if you need a trust, you get the trust, all the power of attorney documents, the living will for $650. So instead of having to spend thousands of bucks on the trust, we can get it done pretty darn inexpensively. And it took me, I want to say 30 or 40 minutes to do my trust and all the documents. And we had the documents in office done by a local attorney within 3 business days.
Wow. I mean, and again, that's giving back to your clients. It's another point of why you should work with Patrick and Bella Advisors and that personal service. And yeah, estate planning obviously is its own special thing, but you can guide people down the right path.
That's right. We can start asking the right questions and making sure they're thinking about all the things that they really need to be thinking about, and then get them in contact with the folks that can make it happen. So we kind of help handhold through that process. Otherwise, people won't do it. People, it's like everything. We tend to put things off until we really can't put it off any longer a lot of times.
Yeah, I think I do that with just laundry. So, I mean, doing that with, something is like financial. I mean, and for a lot of people, it's overwhelming, whether it's.
And it's the unknown. The unknown scares everybody, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people may be, embarrassed. You don't talk about money, that kind of thing. I don't really need to think about this. It's
time to air out that dirty laundry.
Air out that dirty laundry. Little Don Henley there, little dirty laundry.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe that should be the theme song. For the show.
Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. Yeah, that's so true. It's never been more true than today. Let's take some questions from some of our listeners. And by the way, we appreciate you listening and watching, whether it's on the radio or online. And make sure you share this video and you share this show with somebody that you know. And that's important because this information is important. It can help save somebody. We talked about it before, hundreds of thousands of dollars with a 45-minute free meeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's not insignificant money. It's not to me. Maybe it is to you, but it's not to most people. So, all right. We heard from Lillian in Snellville, who says, I don't have a retirement plan offered through an employer. I'm about 15 years away from retirement. What's the best way to save money and lower taxes between now and retirement?
Well, it's 2 kind of different things. Well, we don't know how much money's coming in, right, for her. So to be able to save money in the long run, if she's going to be putting money away into something, start a Roth IRA. You can start a Roth IRA and go ahead and pay the taxes on that money now, even though it doesn't feel good. But it's going to be growing tax-free for you for the next 15 years. So that way, when you're retiring, then you're able to start pulling off of that money and creating income from that money that's tax-free for the rest of your life.
Roths have a maximum income threshold that you can be eligible for them?
So if it's too high, then there are other tax advantage types of accounts. So we can use certain types of life insurance. And so for people who have a high income, this is actually stuff that I do for myself. And so for folks that have a high income that are coming in and you can't qualify for a Roth, then you can use the tax benefits through life insurance where we can put the money in and it's going to grow tax deferred for you. And then you're able to pull it out with special provisions in those accounts tax free.
And see, these are other things that people don't know. You say, well, I'm just going to go into a Roth. What is it? I think it's 120 something.
If you're single, it's about 120,000. It's around 180, I want to say, if you're a couple
married. Okay.
Yes, if you can't qualify for that, and then you still have the red tape and the regulations that the government has, and who knows what they could change on those accounts for you in the future.
Oh, well, I'm sure it'll change every year like it does.
Yeah, but there are other accounts that are out there people just don't know about that they could be putting their money into where you don't have to pay tax on that money again.
Well, and I love that, and you have been a convincer of me about the Roth IRA because for so long we've been fed the idea that, well, 401k is tax deferred, so you take home more money, which kind of, sort of, because it's just a little small piece that they're not taxing you on. So, yes, in theory, it does lower your tax bill a little bit currently, but I have a feeling it will probably come back tenfold.
That's right. So you've been accumulating that little bit, right? Every week, every month, every year for a number of years. So it becomes people's biggest asset. But so it's not uncommon really it would be uncommon if it wasn't people's biggest asset when they come in to see me a lot of times.
Sure. That and their house. I mean, that would be at least with their cash asset.
Yep. Their home. Yeah. And the value of their 401k or their IRAs is usually people's biggest asset. And it's all tax deferred money. It's all taxable income just waiting to be taxed.
Tick, tick, tick. Yeah. So. All right, thanks for the question. We heard from Zach, who says, I'm being forced into an early retirement at 57 from my job from the state. See, we talked about that. You never know when you're going to be, asked to retire and not on your terms. I'll have my pension, but that alone won't be enough to live on. Do I need to find another job since I'm too young for Social Security or withdraw from IRAs? That's a tough position to be in at 57. And now what do you do?
Depending on how much the IRAs are, more than likely, yeah, it could be a blessing in disguise. Maybe you'll find out that there's better stuff out there than working for the government.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah, I actually I went on a number of interviews back in my 20s to work for the DOT, for the state DOT. Right? Yeah, because I really wanted to. I love structure, and I really love infrastructure and bridges and planning. I think I would have been miserable in a government job. As slow as things move in the bureaucracy, and I think I would have. Yeah,
and there's a really good book if you're in that position, or if anybody's kind of in that position where they don't really like what they're doing and they're looking for something else. There's a really good book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek, and it's a really good book. Not saying that you only should be working 4 hours a week, but it's just a good book that will rechange your mind frame and make it not so difficult for you to make a step into doing something yourself, and giving you a lot of those steps to kind of guiding you in that direction of finding something that you really want to be doing and structuring your lifestyle of what you want now versus delaying it to a future point in time.
That was another book that I read too. I don't know if it's even still relevant. What Color is Your Parachute? It's another good one. Talks about how to figure out what your passion is and whatever that is. I mean, that's really ultimately what we're doing all this for, right? And I love the fact that you say that. Let's find out what it is. Let's get you on a plan that's going to prevent you from making huge mistakes that you see all the time people come in your office. So here we are with the holidays, 770-545-8881, 770-545-8881. Give Patrick a call, get on his schedule, get up to beautiful Roswell to see him, and enjoy the holidays knowing that, man, you have taken care of a lot of things and you've, avoided a ton of pitfalls. That's the way I want to begin my holidays.
No kidding. Give yourself that peace of mind and give your family that peace of mind.
Plus, he's got a $10,000 Amazon shopping spree for. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. $20 Amazon gift card and a free turkey.
I like that.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah. For the first 10 callers, we'll do that. We'll do a free turkey and a $20 Amazon gift card. I'll just call up and set up your time to come in.
All right. Make sure to share and like and follow us and tell your friends about 5 Star Retirement. For Patrick Mueller, I'm Chris Monroe. We'll see you next time.